Welcome to Fireside Jets. My name is Alex, my co-host here, Ryan Moran. Today we want to take a look at a couple different things, ranging from Joe Douglas looking into a potential veteran tackle to come in here and help with some depth. So we'll give you an idea of that player, what he would bring, and kind of maybe how much it would cost to consume a contract like that. We talked about the the Jets salary space a couple days ago. They have a little bit of cash flow, so they can make some depth signings and really shore up some positions that they might be a little bit concerned about health-wise. And we want to discuss Sauce Gardner, speaking with Darrelle Revis and what that means for him in terms of mentorship. It's really interesting. Of course, if there's anyone to learn from, it's Darrelle Revis. That is the epitome of greatness at cornerback. You want him to be the one teaching your young stud cornerback from Cincinnati how to play the game the right way and how to lock guys down on an island. So I'm excited to talk about these different topics. Ryan, before we do, how you doing today, my friend?
Doing well, Alex. Two great topics, to discuss today. Obviously, with the Riley Reiff news coming down this morning, I don't think it's too much of a surprise to Jets fans when you know Joe Douglas's background. You just look at the current construction of the roster on paper. You look at the starters across the board, offense, defense, special teams, and you look at the depth, especially starting in the trenches. When you know what Douglas and Sal believe philosophically on, having as many guys up front, as many big physical players. So the Reif news really isn't too surprising. Have a ton on him we'll discuss here. And the Revis Sauce stuff, obviously, I think makes every Jet fan smile, when you think about what Revis was able to do, the good old days. And I think, a lot of people are hoping for something similar to Revis here in Sauce for many years to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about Riley Reiff first, because that, I think, is the most interesting topic. So Riley Reiff, if you're unaware, spent last season with Cincinnati. Obviously went to the Super Bowl, and before that spent 4 seasons with Minnesota and then 5 seasons with Detroit. So he's been around the block a couple times. He's still a pretty solid player across his career. Above average pass blocker, a little bit above average run blocker. He can hold it down, right? So he's like essentially your Morgan Moses from last year. He's going to come in as a depth piece and supplement any injuries, whether, George Font or Mekhi Becton, knock on wood, anything were to happen to them. Becton definitely needed an insurance policy for him coming off the injury and stuff. So I think that's a good move. Riley Reiff is pretty spread around in his career. He's played most of his snaps at left tackle, 7,247 of his snaps at left tackle, and he has about 1,600 at right tackle. So he's experienced on both sides. That ability and the value of having a guy who can play both positions will ultimately give the Jets offense a little bit more comfort, knowing that if anyone were to go down, they have a pretty damn good backup waiting in the wings. Now, my question is, do you think Riley Reiff wants a chance to become a starter? Because he seems like he's still capable of playing at a starter level. I mean, if I were him, I'd be looking for starter money because, his production, there's not that many great left tackles in the league. There's not many great right tackles. So, a guy like him could probably go and start somewhere for more money. Do you think the Jets would be paying him fringe starter level money to compete with Mekhi Becton at right tackle? How do you think that would kind of work out?
Yeah, so definitely a lot to unpack. When I was doing my research on Reiff this morning, just when the news broke, I was reading what like one Bengals fan site said, and they were saying at this point, based on how many injuries he had last year, he's going to turn 34 in December. They don't think at this point, he will get, a guaranteed starting opportunity, which is probably why, post draft, he's still out there here in, early to mid June. And, you consider his age, you consider the injuries, at this point, he's probably getting swing tackle looks as a third guy for the team on a depth chart. And, the background with Reiff, you got to feel great about, obviously. But in terms of like the financials at this point, I would expect something similar to probably what the Jets gave Morgan Moses last year. I think it was like the cap hit was roughly $3 to $3.5 million, and the incentives were up to like $5.5, which is probably fair. I think Reiff last year played at about 7-ish. So it's probably, a fair, deal for both sides at this point. I would think in that range. Just a little background on him, obviously a first-round pick in 2012, going into year 11 in the NFL. He's been in the league a long time. He's been productive, been successful with the Lions, had a 5-year contract that he signed with the Vikings. And then last year with the Bengals, his first time at right tackle. So he does offer that versatility between left tackle and right tackle, which is a nice luxury. Per PFF last year at a 67.3 grades, allowed 1 penalty and 4 sacks. You obviously touched up on his success as a pass blocker. So there's a lot to feel good about. It was last July when the Jets signed Morgan Moses, and that was huge. I mean, at the time, you didn't really think it because of, Mekhi Becton and George Fant, but to see Becton go down in the first half of week one and Morgan Moses start 16 games and, fill in, hold up really well, it just goes to show you, that third offensive tackle, having a veteran there, is a huge, huge benefit for the team. Max Mitchell is someone I think all Jet fans are excited about, the rookie 4th-round pick, but coming out of Louisiana, he still has to get his play strength up a little bit, get a little stronger, which he already spoken on he has. But I think you want to really ease Max Mitchell in as a rookie and kind of, not put as much pressure on him as a third offensive tackle in that swing role. And I think that's kind of where Reiff would come in and, make an immediate impact for the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, Max Mitchell, I looked at him a couple of months ago, and he's a small guy. Like, he's short, he's small, but he's quick and fast. I am definitely concerned that he will get overpowered at this point in his, as a rookie. So I think having a guy like Riley Reiff that comes in here and holds it down, can play both spots, play that Morgan Moses role from last year. That's exactly what you want for the Jets, because it's all about protecting Zach Wilson and allowing him to take that step forward. So you don't want to throw a rookie in at tackle there and be really, really concerned about Zach Wilson's safety because he just isn't holding it down right. Riley Reiff, good player traditionally, can hold it down. I think that would be a great signing. He is visiting the Jets today on Thursday. So we'll see if they come to a conclusion. I'm curious to see how much money he's looking for. Maybe a 1 year, like $4 million deal, 1 year, $5 million deal, maybe a little bit more. Who knows? The Jets don't have a ton of cash. They do probably want to carry a little bit into the season. They could restructure some contracts if they need to open up a bit more cash flow. But at this point in time, they probably don't want anything that's going to be over $5 million for one season. Riley Reiff, might be better off just waiting out and seeing if a guy gets injured or if, something happens and then get a little bit more money because he is capable of starting right now. He did end his season early last year with an ankle injury, but he seems to be fully healthy and ready to make an impact wherever he goes. So definitely curious to see what the Jets do there. I think Riley Reiff would be a really good signing for them. But moving over to the next topic, Sauce Gardner talking with Darrelle Revis. That is like the best thing you can have if you're a Jets fan. So essentially this is what Revis had to say about, connecting with him. He said, yeah, I spoke to Sauce once he gets settled in about a week after he got drafted 4th overall. We have each other's numbers and we're just going to continue to communicate as best we can. There's a lot of other DBs from the Jets secondary who reached out as well. So clearly there are a lot of other guys, and that's a great thing, right? If you have Michael Carter II, you have all these defensive backs, even DJ Reed, who's an experienced guy, talking to Darrelle Revis, learning a little bit about the game, how to lock him down on an island. That's a bonus, right? Sauce as a rookie, Darrelle Revis was so instinctive. He wasn't the tallest guy, wasn't the fastest or strongest guy. He was just the smartest guy, right? Darrelle Revis was by far the smartest cornerback I've ever seen. He knew what routes were coming. He was an unbelievable study. He was able to utilize all of his tools and maximize them because of his intelligence on the football field and his IQ at the cornerback position. I would even argue Sauce has better tangible attributes than Darrelle Revis. And with that in mind, if he can become as smart and intellectual as Darrelle Revis at the position, you're talking about a future Hall of Famer, right? But of course, easier said than done. Learning how to become a great corner is not easy, especially in the NFL against receivers who are just unbelievable, like the Tyreek Hills of the world, the Devontae Adams, these elite route runners. Darrelle Revis did it against some of the best in the game, though. Randy Moss, the Megatron, like he is one of the best corners of all time. I wonder if he has some tricks up his sleeve that can help Sauce Gardner. I imagine you see this as a major positive. What are your thoughts about it?
100%. So when Sauce got drafted, I remember when he was speaking to the media that night, they asked him who's the first player you think about when you think about the Jets, and he said Darrelle Revis obviously is probably most would. And I think it was his first press conference at the facility a couple of days after being drafted when he said, he wanted to talk to Revis, obviously. I mean, who wouldn't? You're a young 4th overall pick playing corner drafted by the Jets. And, you said obviously what Revis was able to do just from an intelligence standpoint. And you hear so many people rave about his practice habits, his work ethic, and the preparation, the study. Just hearing like little things from people over the years, like his former teammates. I mean, he could tell by the way you walked out of the huddle, like if you were going to be running a route that was a part of the read or not, things like that. And just to be able to give someone as physically talented as Sauce, that type of information, like, hey, look at this pre-snap or whatever, whatever kind of read you can get before the receiver breaks, I think it's just going to be invaluable. I think for someone like Sauce, to be under Revis's wing, like, Darrell said, he's obviously going to keep in touch with them. The physical attributes are obviously all there with Sauce, and you said it with Revis. I mean, it was all technique. I mean, that was really his game. He wasn't the size of the athlete of some of these guys now. And, his game is all built on the intelligence, the work ethic, and the technique just being as good as it gets. And, Sauce obviously physically has everything you could ask for, as well as just the speed. And to be able to get him mentally, even close to what Revis was, I think is a huge bonus.
Yeah, I mean, we can hope. That's all we can do at this point. But Ahmad Gardner, Sauce, 6'3", 193 pounds. He's got it all. He only gave up 131 yards last year, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, a 50% completion rate. He was only targeted 40 times. Opposing teams don't even look his direction, right? They don't even want to get involved on his side of the field because he knows that he's a dangerous player to throw the ball towards. So I'd like to see him. I wonder how the Jets defense will operate, in terms of being more of a hybrid scheme, if they're going to use a lot of more, what their man coverage percentages will look like. Because he is elite in man coverage, zone coverage. I think he'll a little bit more work, but that'll come with experience and time. But that's what you want, right? You want him to be on an island and be able to survive alone. He is a pterodactyl, essentially. He has a monster wingspan, 99th percentile arm length, 33.75 inches, 98th percentile in height at 6'3". 89th percentile in hand size at 9.63, and his 40-yard dash at 4.41 was in the 80th percentile. He did not participate in the 20-yard shuttle, bench press, vertical jump, broad jump, or 3-cone, but he didn't really need to, right? Those are the main things. The arm length, like those, the 40-yard dash, those are great stuff. Of course, you want to see some of the 20-yard shuttle, his quickness, agility, but you watch it on film. He's legit. His frame, physicality, top end, speed is good enough, awareness, good, change of direction, good enough. He has really good makeup speed. If you want to impress coverage like they did with Darrelle Revis back in the day, he's going to thrive, and that's the best mentor you can have possible for a guy like Sauce Gardner. But I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts below in the YouTube comments. As always, thoughts about Riley Reiff, thoughts about Darrelle Revis, maybe mentoring, getting more involved with this Jets secondary, helping them become better corners and better defensive backs. A lot of good stuff coming out of the Jets camp. Excited to see where this team goes. I appreciate you guys tuning in to Fireside Jets and showing us some love. Make sure to like and subscribe below. Daily content, film analysis, breaking down all the updates and daily news. We got you guys covered. No worries about that. Make sure you have a fantastic rest of your day, and we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Jets episode.